For this video, I'm going to show the basics of starting an alpha bracelet. Usually you will be working an alpha from a pattern, either one you've seen online or one you've created yourself. With a normal pattern, you will work alternate threads every second row. So on the odd numbered rows, you would work threads 1 and 2 together, and 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and so on. Then for the even numbered rows, you would skip the threads at the beginning and end, and starting with threads 2 and 3, you would knot them together, and then the next ones, and so on. Whereas with an alpha, you will take one thread and you will knot over each thread in the row. With a normal friendship bracelet pattern, you will knot 2 threads together each time. Each thread in the row can either be knotted over the holding thread or knotted with the working thread. Whereas with an alpha bracelet, you will usually keep all but one of the threads as holding threads only. This means that all these threads will only be knotted over. If you only use these threads as holding threads, you don't have to worry too much about what colour they are or how long they are. So this is a good opportunity to use up scraps of threads that might not be long enough for other bracelets. As mentioned before, with a normal friendship bracelet pattern, you will knot 2 threads together each time. This means that if you have 8 threads, you will have 4 knots on the first row and 3 knots on the second row. Whereas with an alpha bracelet, you will have 8 knots on each row, created by adding 1 extra thread. If you're working a traditional alpha bracelet, you will only need to make the holding threads long enough to wrap around the wrist, ankle, neck, etc. The working thread, on the other hand, does need to be much longer in order to be long enough to do all the knots needed to create the bracelet. You may need to use a thread holder to keep it from getting too tangled up, and this can slow things down a bit. Alternately, you might want to just keep adding new thread each time it starts to get too short. As you add different colours to create whatever pattern you are working, you will drop the threads until you need to use them again. And if there is a gap between using the colours, there will be crossover threads at the back of your bracelet. This might not suit some people, and it is one of the reasons why I generally don't make alpha bracelets unless somebody orders one. One way to avoid this, for instance if you're only using 2 colours, is by switching your holding threads to working threads and knotting in the opposite direction every time you want to use your second colour. So for example, if you have been working from left to right doing forward knots, you would take what would usually be your holding thread and work it over this thread as a backward knot. This will eliminate the crossover threads at the back. However, it is worth mentioning that this method will not work with every pattern. Another solution some people use is to add a backing to the bracelet to cover up the crossover threads. To create a pattern, you will take one thread, the working thread, and knot over the rest of the threads from left to right in forward knots. And then back again from right to left in backward knots. If and when you need to add a different colour to create your pattern, you will introduce the relevant coloured thread at the point indicated on your pattern. and then you can switch back to your original colour at the point you need to.